Hello and welcome to The Arise interview. 60 minutes of big questions about the big stories from the news and beyond with fresh insight and critical analysis. I'm Charles Anyagulu. Coming up in the next hour, a special guest today. Not that all the rest aren't special, but Folarin Falana, better known as Falz the Bahd Guy, is a rapper, songwriter, comedian and actor, and belongs to a family of hugely respected human rights lawyers and anti-establishment political rebels. His parents, Femi and Funmi Falana, endured years of detention during Nigeria's dark days of military rule. And today, through his rather subversive music, Falz is continuing his parents' work, albeit with a light-hearted comedic twist. Falz the Bahd Guy, coming up in a moment. Now, he's been described as part of a new generation of revolutionary artists who are molding and reshaping Nigerian society and shaking the country up politically and socially. Some have called Falz the Bahd Guy a rebel artist. His parents, Femi and Funmi Falana, are both famous lawyers and human rights activists. Falz himself didn't fall too far from the family tree. He's a trained criminal lawyer and a graduated barrister. But he's since branched out beyond the wig and gown, evolving into one of Nigeria's most popular Afrobeat stars, but staying close to his activist roots. His rather subversive music and his caustic criticism of politicians, police brutality and social injustice has got him into hot water with the Nigerian government and the country's conservative religious elite. We'll talk to Falz in a moment, but first, here he is in his element.
Yeah, let go. Daddy, check. What? Yeah, comment tu t'appelles? Chez you the fier, et lolo magie. Daddy go spend, yeah, me swagger na rare. Au school la paix, my low attempted job. Say, what's my name? Bop Daddy. Big tunes, got the club banging. Less man, more baddies. What's that? It's a drop top caddy. What's my name? Bop Daddy. Big tunes, got the club banging. Less man, more baddies. What's that? It's a drop top caddy. Hey, Bop Daddy, 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 Bop Daddy. Yeah, shit you like Okocha. I get skills you go like on cover. Biggie man we be life supporter, but not the type with the type computer. I don't type computer. Neck froze, hammer time. See the watch, you they shine from afar. Central bank for inside, I got that. A couple toys just land a papa on my back. But daddy know the rush. A slow walk. Oh God, you go fear Bob. You don't have respect for the chairman, director. What's my name? Bop Daddy. Big tunes, got the club banging. Less man, more baddies. What's that? It's a drop top caddy. What's my name? Bop Daddy. Big tunes, got the club banging. Less man, more baddies. What's that? It's a drop top caddy. Hey, Bop Daddy, 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 Bop Daddy.
Well, gosh, I'd like to be in that video. And I'm exceedingly happy to say that Folarin Falana, popularly known as Falz the Bahd Guy, joins me now via WebEx from Lagos. And I can see you're grooving to your own music. It's always a good sign, I suppose, when you make music and you actually like it yourself. But thank you very much indeed for joining us. And in addition to the fact that you make really good music, which is clearly evident, I notice there's always mixed in a bit of sort of laughter and comedy. Is that an essential part of how you want to be seen, part of the Falz brand, if you like?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's important. It's a big part of my brand. I've, over time, shown a hugely comedic side of me, especially online, via skits on social media platforms like Instagram, YouTube, and the like. So, people have seen that side of me a lot, and it's something that I also reflect a lot more in the music, every now and then. I've always done that, but I think now more than ever, people are starting to really connect that character, that crazy guy that they see online. So I bring him out a lot more, on the music as well.
We quite like to see your jolly face there. That enormous microphone is rather taking the limelight away from you. So if you don't mind being a little bit, just pulling it down a little bit more, hopefully it can pick up what you're saying.
I can find a way to reduce the size of it.
Sorry?
I'll find a way to reduce the size of it.
Brilliant. I like that. I suppose that's what makes you so interesting. Now that is brilliant. You should see what's going on in the gallery here. You've got everybody in stitches. But of course, most people know you for that unique take you did, This Is Nigeria, which I guess was a sort of parody of sort of Nigeria, a spoof of the Childish Gambino This Is America song. And This Is Nigeria, of course, went everywhere. I mean, viral in Nigeria, the US, Europe, across Africa, everywhere. I mean, tell us how that song came about and what made it so controversial.
I mean, I'd seen the original, of course, Childish Gambino's work, This Is America, and I saw the way that he created such an artistic body of work, but at the same time, a very, very deeply conscious body of work. I thought it would be amazing to tell the Nigerian story, in sort of similar fashion. And, just as I was having that conversation with a friend of mine, the same day I got home, I really, really pondered on it, and I said, you know what, I'm going to do it. And I hooked up the lyrics. I already had some lyrics along those lines, because, with my music, I always try to be conscious. I already had some lyrics along those lines. I adapted it to the music, and then as soon as I was done recording, I knew I had to film something. So I played it for a few members of my team. They loved it instantly. They thought, it was a great song. But even they didn't really see what I saw visual. But I knew that I had to follow through. So I contacted the director of the visuals. Big shout out to him. His name is Brody Jeezy. And I told him, what I had in mind. He thought it was a brilliant idea. And then we went on to execute. So I shot that video for like an entire day. Like an entire day we were filming, and because it was a continuous moving shot. For those that are familiar with like filmmaking, you know that is something that you have to get in one take. So we kept on rehearsing, and then just made sure that we perfected all the movement, everything, every movement, every object, every person that you see in that video is symbolic of something very, very deep. But from the lyrics, if you pay a lot more attention to the lyrics, you can catch on to most of the messages in this.
Well, I mean, I have to say that was my first familiarity with you. I mean, I have to say it's an absolutely brilliant song. And in addition to that, I mean, you make it sound so simple when you talk about it this way. But I mean, beyond the fact that it's a very important song in the message that it had, I mean, the production quality was just absolutely superb. And I mean, you talk about doing the whole thing in one of those continuous sort of camera shots, one long continuous. I mean, that is just so complicated and so extraordinary to do. So you need to be commended for that. But certainly the Nigerian government didn't think so. I mean, it rubbed them up the wrong way, didn't it?
It definitely did. I mean, I expected to raise some eyebrows. I expected a few frowns here and there. But I didn't expect an absolute ban on the music. And to my surprise, after a while, the song had already seeped in through to the entire world. via most popularly online. And after some time, I saw that there was a memo that a radio station received, and they said that the NBC, which is, I think, the National Broadcast Commission, said that there were contents of the music that was regarded as vulgar, and for that reason, the song was officially banned, and the radio stations couldn't play that song anymore. I was very, very puzzled because I went back to the music. I played it again as if it wasn't me that had performed it. I played it again and listened just to see if there was something that I missed. That vulgarity I did not find. So it was obvious that was coming from a different place. That decision I definitely knew was not okay, so I challenged that decision. So we have an ongoing suit right now.
Well, I'm glad you took it to court, because those things need to be sorted. Of course, you are a lawyer, and one would assume that that's where you would naturally take disputed things like that. But the bottom line is that it has happened. I mean, it is under a ban, and we can't play it for that reason. But I mean, are there any lessons that you learned from that with regard to the intersection between entertainment and the authorities in this country?
I think what I learned is that there is a big voice, or should I say a loud voice, that entertainers have, and for that reason, what we say, everyone would hear. This song came through, like I said, through to the entire world, and I had the likes of P. Diddy in the United States posted up on his Instagram page. I eventually reached out to him and got the chance to meet him in the United States. For those that don't know, Diddy is a huge legendary hip hop artist. So someone as iconic as that, to catch on to something that I didn't even know would travel that far. It just shows how far and wide it went. On YouTube now, it's over 18 million views and counting. So there's so many people in so many different countries. On the week of its release, in so many different countries, it was one of the top trending videos. And so it just showed that regardless of language, regardless of background, watching that piece of work, everybody could feel something, everybody could see something.
Yeah. Bad guys in the building. I told you I'm the life for the party. Why your guys want they try collect that beat? Beating head don't go, make me want to hack. So give me them side, Sholo Maggie. Mommy see I know be legal spender. I got a shitload of that legal tender. I'm thinking how we met is not coincidental. I can make a life just a little better. Have you ever been to Lagos? Have you been with a guy from my city? Hakuna Matata. I like your matako, my titi. Le pédou est magique. Fimi les chevaux danser. Tu es magnifique, mais là qui style élégant, enchanté. Mademoiselle, c'est le moment de faire la fête. C'est le moment de faire la fête. We are hold your neighbor, Besuma go magnet. C'est le moment de faire la fête. We are show them. We are show them.
And that is La Fête by Falz, and Falz is still with me via WebEx from Lagos. Thank you very much indeed for staying with us. I think what I really like about your videos is the very crisp, very precise choreography. I think one of my favorites would have to be that one we just saw, La Fête. I mean, in addition to being a great song, it's also sort of Pan-African, isn't it? I mean, with major languages spoken on the continent, Yoruba, Swahili, English, French. What sort of impact has that had? I imagine a lot of people, particularly in the French-speaking countries, quite like it.
Yes, yes, indeed. I just feel like music is a universal language. That one thing that everybody speaks in the world is music. So, if um, via that music I can unite the world, I can unite all the fans and everyone, listen to a sound that they all relate to, then that's great. So on this song, I've spoken probably up to four different languages. There's some French, there's some Yoruba, English, and of course Swahili. Little words here and there, but it's not like I'm not fluent in all those languages. But I found a great and creative way to sort of put all the languages in there and create a very nice mix.
Point out something because your sound appears to be fading a little bit in and out. I don't know if it's the microphone you're using. Maybe you need to bring it a little bit closer to yourself. But I mean, we can hear you, but it does. There's a little bit of dropout there. But let's talk about the first song that we heard, which is one of your more recent songs called Bop Daddy. The video is out and in full rotation. And as I heard it described, it's quite a big banger. I mean, tell us about it because it features Miss Banks, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. I assume this is better, right? The sound.
Yeah, it sounds better.
Great. So yeah, Bop Daddy is a very lively, up-tempo sort of track. I wanted to do something a little different. I wanted to mix a couple of sounds. That is what I really enjoy doing. And I thought it would be nice to play with something that had a bit of background with like UK urban sounds, but still combined with the very traditional Afro beats sound. So I created this fusion. I met Miss Banks last summer on my way to Portugal. We got talking and stayed in touch. And while I was working on this, the only person that I could think about, to really, really bring a nice little flavor to it was her. So I reached out to her and I was like, let's do this. She thought it was a great idea. At the time we made the song, we weren't in the same city. I was in Lagos, she was in London, but we made it happen. Put everything together and bang, there we go.
Yeah, well, I have to say I'm glad you did because, I mean, the result is just splendid stuff. And in fact, Bop Daddy, I don't know if you know that, was chosen as one of the top songs that people should listen to for comfort during the lockdown in Nigeria. I mean, how does that make you feel?
That's amazing. That's amazing to hear. I'm happy to hear that. I realized that, it's kind of gone crazy online as well. There was a big challenge that was ongoing with people putting on their different types of clothing and just transforming, with the song playing in the background, of course. That was also a big thing online. There was even a controversial case that happened recently with ladies of the Nigerian Immigration Service being sanctioned for participating in this online challenge. Yeah, that was a bit troubling to hear, but I hope that's sorted soon.
Well, I hope so, but I actually saw that as well. I saw the news around it, and hopefully, as you said, it won't be anything more than, I mean, there's nothing wrong with people in the immigration service having a bit of fun. But talking about lockdown and stay at home, and of course, coronavirus, I mean, how are you coping with all of that, including things like social distancing and so on?
My brother, it's a serious matter. It's a very serious circumstance. Everyone is just at home. Everyone is getting fed up. As we can see from all the numerous videos and things that we see, there are people that they can't afford to live like this because on a normal day they live by the day. They work, they get what they earn what they can that day, and then they go and get food. So if they're not working, they cannot eat. So it's crazy, and there's of course a huge chunk of the population that's like that. Why? Because the wealth in this country has been amassed by a tiny few of us. So it's disturbing that people have to go through this, and it's almost troubling to see that the government more or less isn't showing as much compassion, towards people, the plight of the people, and it's sad. We're seeing people's houses being burgled. We're seeing armed robberies. We're hearing several terrible stories. So it's very troubling these times.
Yeah, I have to say it's a difficult one. It's a very difficult line to straddle between the health of the people and the economy of the people. But in just returning to the entertainment sort of aspects of what you do, and in terms of the songs that you yourself, I mean, given what you talked about, with the challenges of lockdown and so on, songs that you yourself would turn to for comfort during the lockdown. I mean, which ones would you include as the top 3 in your sort of lockdown playlist? And of course, minus your own songs, I'm afraid.
Well, okay. Well, since my song is not going to be in this list, I would say, first of all, I would say a song called Nobody by DJ Neptune featuring Joe Boy and Mr. Easy. I really like that song. I would say a song by Oxlade called Away. I really like that one too. And finally, I probably an entire album actually. A very, very talented rapper by the name Dremo just released an album. I've been bumping the entire album. I'm featured on one track there, but that's not why. I think it's a great body of work. So, his album is also great. Actually, Brimo also released an album. So these projects, I think, have been keeping me busy this period.
Well, of course, never mind the fact that, as you said, you were included in a song in one of those albums. I mean, these are obviously your contemporaries, many of them very well known. But, I mean, beyond the immediate sort of, Afrobeat stars and rap artists and hip-hop people that are your kind of contemporaries, I mean, who would you say is the music artist that you really admire of all time and you're a real big fan of?
Of all time? That was a very dangerous question. If I'm to shake of all time, I think I would have to say none other than the legendary, the iconic Fela Kuti. Exceptional. In the way that he made music, in the way that he even embodied the message that he preached. He was more than a musician. He was like a prophet. He was a revolutionary, and he has definitely really, 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 really huge shoes to fill. I don't know if anyone will ever be able to fill those shoes.
Well, I'm actually
tonight, girl, you got me feeling right. In the morning, in the night, say you got me feeling right. Girl, I like how you look tonight. Girl, you got me feeling right. In the morning, in the night, say you got me feeling right. Oh yeah, for like I didn't know fear. Anytime you want, I go there. Yeah. Oh yeah, some of me just catch you. Yeah. Oh my mommy, like in the way that you move your body. See, as I day, I want me your daddy. Put the shit on, I ready to marry. And if you need some loving, I'll be at your door. And if you need some loving, I'll be at your door. I don't fall in love scatter. I forgive my life, no be small matter. Kini give it bura, shaking bobata. Ewa wamo luabi, di won kodagba. Do bagba, omo me I don't hammer. All the liver way I need, now I don't gather. I go tell your mom, see she be strong mama. Say she raised some beautiful sunflower. Look into my eyes, I go always stay by your side. My God, look into my eyes, I go always stay by your side. Tell your mom, see she be strong mama. Say she raised some beautiful sunflower. Girl, I like how you look tonight. Girl, you got me feeling right. In the morning, in the night, say you got me feeling right. Girl, I like how you look tonight. Girl, you got me feeling right. In the morning, in the night.
very pan-generational song there. Could detect a little bit of a high life sort of twang in there. And the lawyer turned musician, Falz the Bahd Guy, is still with me via WebEx from Lagos. Thank you very much for staying with us. Now let's talk a little bit about your family background. I mean, both your parents are, of course, very famous lawyers and human rights activists, Femi and Funmi Falana. I know your father very well. I mean, he's been my guest on this program, and I've interviewed him several times. I mean, a man who takes justice and civil rights very seriously indeed. Would you say that, in a sense, you are carrying on his work through your music by challenging the powers that be?
Yeah, I think you could definitely say that. Activism is an ongoing thing. It never really ends. And at the end of the day, you know, we're in different fields, but we could be doing it in our own unique ways. You know, he's obviously a big human rights lawyer. You know, so he's doing it in the more typical, in the more radical form. But you know, mine is imbibed in my music, and you know, even beyond the music, you know, I'm very outspoken about these issues as well. So it's I think it's safe to say, you know, it runs in the blood.
Well, I mean, I think you're right about that, because, I mean, some people see your father, I mean, most people have tremendous respect for him, I have to say, but quite a lot of people see him also as very anti-establishment. I mean, have you found yourself running up against authority figures in Nigeria because of that, you know, in the way that, you know, he himself did, beyond, of course, This Is Nigeria, which is the song itself that was banned, just you as a person?
Well, not so much beyond what you've pointed out, but I think, to be honest, if establishment was being run in a more satisfactory manner, I don't think, you know, anyone will just want to be anti-establishment. I think because of the fact that the government of the day, you know, and this is a continuous thing, you know, government after government after government. For the longest time, you know, we haven't really gotten it right. And, you know, there's things, you know, that should really be in place. The very basic things, very basic amenities that we even still don't have. It's safe to say that almost the entire country at this point in time is anti-establishment. And it's sad to see that after so many years, you know, after independence, Nigeria is still where it is today. If we look at the state of our healthcare, for a very practical example, this COVID-19 pandemic is very, very scary for everybody, because we don't even know where this thing is headed, and we don't know what our future is, because now the numbers are hitting 1,000. By the time they get to maybe like 5,000, 10,000, hospitals are overcrowded. Even if they weren't overcrowded, are we even equipped enough to handle this kind of thing? It's very troubling. But I think what is more humbling, and you know, what people maybe are saying that they're happy to see, is the fact that these government officials, who are very quick to take medical excursions, who are very quick to travel abroad to go and treat themselves when, you know, there's a serious issue, now cannot go anywhere because everybody has to stay here. Every country is facing this issue. So now we have to face, you know, we almost have to fix our own home. You know, so we're hoping, really crossing our fingers and hoping for the best on this one.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Of course, your parents battled against successive military regimes in the 80s and 90s for democracy in this country. I mean, your father was imprisoned for it, or certainly locked up, but democracy was eventually won. I mean, today it is, of course, 2020. Some things have changed in Nigeria. Do you think other things have stayed the same?
Yeah, I think I think a lot has stayed the same. I think it's clear to see corruption is still the order of the day. You know, it's crazy. Economy, so many things are dwindling. You know, there's still power, still not even constant. You know, like I said earlier, the healthcare system, the education system. You know, we really should be light years ahead by now. how many years after independence? This is like what, 50 years. Um, it's really sad to see. But hopefully, like I said earlier, hopefully, we can get things back on track. I don't know how it's going to happen because it's almost discouraging to think about. And a lot of people that I speak to, I engage a lot of the younger folk and just try to get a sense of what the mentality is like. A lot of people are sort of losing hope. But I'm the most optimistic person in any scenario. So I have hopes of a brighter future for us. But I think what is important is that younger people need to start to be more involved. If there's anything that we can all agree is that it's the same set of people that have been in government since the very beginning that we keep on recycling. And this trend needs to change.
And I've just had a question sort of texted to me to put to you. I mean, what was it like for you growing up with parents like Femi and Funmi? Politically, of course, your dad, Femi, often, as I said, arrested by the military, hounded constantly. I mean, were those dangerous times? I mean, what was it like growing up in a home like that?
They were definitely dangerous times. I think my mom will probably be in a better position to give account of those times. I was a lot younger. I was a toddler at the time, and we knew. I mean, when I say we, I mean myself and my sisters. I've got two sisters, so we knew. Dad was often being taken away. And he would not. Well, we didn't know he was taken away. We just knew he would disappear for some time, and he wouldn't return for a while. And we would ask mom, "Mom, where did Daddy go?" She would just say, maybe Daddy traveled. At the time we're young, and we can't really understand the details of Daddy being detained because there is a military regime. So she didn't really go into those details, but we'll just know that after a long while, Daddy will come back, and we'll be so happy, because he bought us Ribena. As children, that was sufficient, but those times were probably very, very trying, very, very difficult times for my mom especially. And so, big shout out to her for pulling through those really tough times.
So I think the whole country, well, a significant percentage of the country is with you on that one. But I mean, how do they react to your music today? I mean, for some reason, I know your father is quite a lively person, but I mean, I'm not entirely sure what his perception of your music and all of that is.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are they can't tell what he would be like with that because of his very radical appearance. Yeah, but both of them, to be honest, they are my biggest fans. And they've always supported me. They've always supported my music from the get-go. Initially, when I've been doing this since while I was studying. So while I was in the university, I think the only concerns were, just I hope this thing is not going to distract you from your studies, and it's not going to affect you. But at the end of the day, I of course went through to get my law degree. Came out in flying colors. I think I got a 2-1. Not bad. I went to the law school as well. I was officially called to the bar. It's almost satisfying for them, when they see stuff like that. So they've continued to support me from the get-go.
And the ludicrously talented Falz the Bahd Guy is still with me. Thank you for staying with us. At what point, Falz, did you decide to move away from the wig and gown and the legal profession and all those fat law books and dusty files and head into the world of music?
I would say that would have probably been around 2000 and maybe 2014, 15-ish. I was officially called to the bar after I finished the law school in 2012. Then I had done my NYSC, and I started working. So I was working initially at the Ministry of Justice, and then I started working at my dad's firm. So at the time, I was living a double life. I was a lawyer by day and a rapper by night. So it was that those times were crazy. Still very, very interesting when I think back. But I think around 2015, right around mid 2015, things really started to pick up, on the entertainment side of things, and it was becoming incredibly difficult to sort of shuffle both lives. So at that point in time, I think I had to choose one, and I had to choose what I felt I was a lot more passionate about, and that's entertainment.
I mean, obviously at one point you were working in your father's chambers. Was it difficult telling him, look, Dad, I think you're a brilliant lawyer, but I find this stuff toweringly boring and I need to move and sort of shake a leg sort of thing?
Well, it wasn't that difficult because he already knew, this was something I was very passionate about. And, by this, I mean entertainment. But to be honest, I didn't find the law thing boring. I enjoyed it for the period while it lasted, and it was interesting. It's just a matter of I like this, but I like this better. So that was more the conversation, and it wasn't too difficult to have.
And of course, I mean, initially you did a lot of short comedy skits online. And I mean, some people actually thought of you as more of a comedian, didn't they?
Yeah, naturally, because when people used to listen to my way of talking, they thought, okay, this guy, at least, maybe he didn't have much of education background, and at least, he's somebody that is not of high standing and high casual in society. But generally, I try to educate them. I try to allow them to notice I'm somebody of high standing. It really do affect me when people do say things like that. At least, what can I say? It's okay.
You remind me of this guy I know. I won't mention his name, but I mean, that is just such a brilliant imitation. But at what point did you then transform and transmogrify from that into Falz the Bahd Guy that we know today?
Yeah, I mean, that I think has always been a big part of Falz the Bahd Guy. It was just a point in time where people really caught on to that because I brought out that character a lot more, especially online. And everyone's on the internet, so that's the fastest way to sort of get anything to move around quickly. So with all those short skits, everyone started to see that there was a crazy character within Falz the Bahd Guy, and I think that was what even made it a lot easier for people to catch on to even to my music, but the music started way before that phase, but some people didn't even know that. A lot of people thought I started off with comedy and then ventured into music, but it was the other way around.
Well, that's very interesting, and you heard it first on Arise News, but you've also done, Falz, some very interesting satirical collaborations, notably the song you did with a good friend of mine called Charlie Boy, the son of another famous legal luminary in Nigeria, the Supreme Court Justice Oputa. I mean, it's called God of Men, and it's all about fake pastors and preachers. I mean, tell us how that came about.
We have a very, very deeply religious set of people. We are a very deeply religious set of people, and because of this, it's almost becoming a sickness. And there are people that are being brainwashed into doing things that that aren't normal, and it's almost like they've been blinded by these talks and these promises of hope, and it's to a certain extent. We can say we can see why, because things are really difficult. So the only thing that you have to hold on to is hope. So that hope becomes addictive, if you like. So there are people taking advantage of that situation, people taking advantage of the people and continuously making a living out of people that are believing and hoping, for a better life. So those are the people that we were addressing on that record, and we hear lots of stories about pastors and big men flying private jets and, you know, constructing businesses with church funds is troubling. It's troubling to see, and we felt it was important to address these issues as well. So that was what that song was about.
And we've just got a couple of minutes left for the rest of the interview, and I really appreciate the time you've given us. But a lot of what you started in those early comedy days, and which you have carried on through into your music and your artistry today, is satire, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. I think satire is a big part of the way that I express myself, the way that I write my music, because I think it's the easiest way to pass any sort of message across, laced with humor, laced with a almost slightly cheeky approach. And because also the people are already facing a lot of issues, too many problems, you know, you don't want to have a tone that is too serious. I mean, of course, it's music, you can still do that, but most of the time I don't want to have that tone that is too serious. So I lace it with a little bit of satire to make it easier for the message to come to the listener. But personally, I think the message within music is one of the things I hold dearest myself.
Folarin Falana, known popularly as Falz the Bahd Guy, I want to thank you very much indeed. That's it for this edition of the Arise interview. Do join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja and Lagos, bye-bye, and thank you for watching.